In this video, I am checking out this 18th scale rear-wheel drive drift car from LDRC. It comes in 3 different body styles. I have the RX-7 over here. It says rear-wheel drive proper drifting. When I first saw this, I was super duper skeptical because in the RC drift world, you tend to have 10th scale rear-wheel drive drift cars that really perform really well. And then you have the 28th scale or 24th scale, which so far you end up spending almost the same amount of money as the 10th scale on the small one. And the performance, like you can get the performance there, but it's just so much harder with these small scale vehicles. And these cars start in the hundreds of dollars. Like, honestly, this car is probably sitting at like $700 plus $800, $900 as it sits right here. This one, I actually don't remember how much I have in it, but hundreds of dollars in order to build something like this. And Temu is selling this thing for $60. 60. So there's no way this thing can be good, right? But if it is good, this is huge. So let's get it out of the box and see what it looks like. In the box, you get this car itself, which that car looks really good, actually. Look at that. We're going to get into the car more in a minute. We have a 2-cell 500 milliamp lithium battery of some kind here. We have a charger in here, so I need to get this out and get this bad boy started to charge. Simply just plug these two in together. And then plug this into your nearest USB outlet. This is going to take a long time to charge, so you want to get it started. In here, we also have more parts. So what I'm seeing here is windshield wipers. It looks like door handles, rear view mirrors, a little screwdriver if you need it to put it on. And then these are, according to this, looks like it's something to do with the suspension. It looks like you put them in here for some reason. Why they're not already installed, why they're there, I actually really don't know. But it just says that you need to put them in. So we will put them in here in a minute. Very basic instruction manual here that tells you a little bit about what you have, settings that you have on the controller, that kind of thing. There's a throttle rate. There's a gyro sensitivity. So it does come with the gyro. That's interesting. And you can actually change the sensitivity by pushing this B button. You can turn the lights on and off. So we actually have lights. There's $60. Lights, adjustable gyro, throttle trim, throttle rate. Looks like this needs 2 AAA batteries, so we'll get those. The real kind of negative with the controller is, honestly, it's tiny. It's very tiny. Holding it in my hand is going to be awkward. They do provide you, I believe this is for this. They provide you with this cover that can go over. Once you get it on, though, it's going to be really hard to get the battery in and out. And this also, I'm assuming this is a foam cover for the steering wheel, maybe? It doesn't actually say, as near as I can tell. But it looks like that would make sense, right? Little foam cover for the steering wheel. That feels a little bit nicer now, and then this is going to be on here, but we got to get the battery in first and then shove that all on there. We're going to put all of these additional parts now on the car. When you look at these little parts that they want us to put on the suspension, some of them have a very small little raised bump on them. Some of them are smooth. It looks like the smooth ones are supposed to go in the rear. Looks like maybe it just comes in and clips in. Yeah, it just clips in like that. And here's what it's doing. It's limiting the total suspension travel. So right there, it acts like as a block so that the suspension can only travel down so far. On this side, it allows the suspension to move much more. On this side, it's much restrictive. It may end up being a slight tuning device. I'm actually considering leaving it out of the front so that the front has more travel. It seems like it might be something that you can take in or out, or just popping them in and out with a screwdriver. There is some kind of difference. If you do put the ones with the tie bars on the front, it looks like that it goes towards the outside. Oh wow, when you do that, it is a huge difference. Look at how the tire at full droop just barely clears the fender well here. This side has like a 1/4 inch or more, so huge difference in how it allows the suspension to travel. It's kind of odd that they do it that way. It looks nicer as it sits way down low compared to sitting up higher, but it is odd. I think I'm going to end up having to try it both ways and see how it drives. And it comes with windshield wipers, so you can just pop those right in like this. It doesn't say anything about adding glue or anything to them, but they flop around just a little bit, so I could see getting them into a place where you wanted them and then gluing them down. With a little glue, we now have the door handles in, we have the side mirrors in with a little reflective piece of metal in it. We have the windshield wipers on, so we're looking really good, actually, if I'm honest. On the underside of the car, underneath here, is where the battery goes. I'll plug it in, tuck the wires, and tuck the battery in. Looks like that should snap in. Maybe there's a screw that goes there. Maybe we'll ignore that and see if it falls off. All right, we're gonna turn the car on. Oh, look at the headlights. What? If we come over here and hit the C button, oh, that is too cool. Check that out. Oh my gosh. It literally has a little servo and little headlights in it. Ooh, steering's pretty fast. You can see the gyro's working. Gyro's working the right way. So that is good. That is good to see. A little twitchy, but we kind of expected such. The B here is supposed to set the gyro from 25 to 50 to 75. Oh yeah, that's a lot less sensitive. Yep, something in the middle maybe. Okay, even more. Oh, and then super sensitive. So that must be 100. So if I take it back there, that must be the 25. Let's put it at 50 just as a starting spot. No idea what that means, and I'll be honest, we're just gonna go try it. Looking at this, it doesn't look like it actually is interfering with the outer fender. It looks like what it's doing is when it gets to full lock, it's actually hitting this inner fender that they have here on the car. Looking in here, the first thing I'm going to do is one screw here, one screw back here. With the screws out, I can pull the back side up and off. I can get a screwdriver in here on this other side. There we go. Inner fender is out. Just be careful of the wires. There's a bunch of wires in here that work those little servos in the headlights. So when you do take those out, make sure you're not pulling on those wires too much. I think it defaults to 100% gyro whenever you turn it on. Yeah, there you go. So all of a sudden I'm getting a bunch of gyro wobble. So 100, 25, 50. So the 50 seems to work pretty good. Woo! Dude, seriously! That thing, that's a $60 rear-wheel drive drift car making laps. You can't throw it in too hard. So a few things to talk about after driving this thing for the first time. One, scale details are absolutely off the charts. We even have brake lights, we have turn signals going on, we have the headlights that you can control popping up or not. It has a built-in gyro, it's rear-wheel drive, $60. Like $60 after the first drive. Like, is it perfect? No, it is not going to be like the best rear-wheel drive drift car you've ever had in your life. But can you imagine for $60? It's a lot of dang fun. It has kind of surprised me as to how good it really is, and it makes me wonder what more could really be done here. Could we upgrade this to a better controller and gyro setup? Would it take it, and would it even drive even better? You can tell there's a couple parts here for the chassis. It looks like a couple screws here and maybe a couple screws here, and we could actually get the body off. We can actually slide the body off the chassis and see what we're really dealing with underneath here. This big box is where the battery goes. Two wires mean we're just dealing with a small little brushed motor over here. Looks like light control, front, rear, power switch, everything is coming in and out of this one circuit board, including the steering plugged in there. And the steering servo is going just straight down to a direct drive steering servo down here, directly to a wiper system that controls the front suspension. But a couple things that's really interesting here. That looks like a somewhat standard micro-sized servo. So if we wanted to upgrade one, we could. Although it is already a 3-wire, so if we were going to plug this into a standard gyro, we could do that without any kind of issue. The brushed motor means that we can run it off of just a basic brushed ESC, and that should not be any kind of issue if we wanted to upgrade. And then we actually have pretty decent room underneath here. So if we wanted to change out this electronic circuit board, put a standard receiver, ESC, put the gyro and everything in here, we actually technically have room for it. It appears that the alignment on this thing can be fully adjustable. So we have threaded rods on upper control arms, so that means we can control camber. We have threaded rods on the turnbuckles up here, so we could control toe in and toe out. We have adjustable rods back here on the back side of the rear, which means we can adjust the rear toe to help make the thing drive even better. These torsion springs that are right here, it looks like a sway bar is what you would normally think of it as. That's actually the suspension. That's actually the spring for the whole thing. So that's what we're dealing with there. Pretty simple, pretty simple setup, but pretty smart actually. This thing's kind of surprising. I've got the car back together and I want to try something here. I want to pop these little suspension limiters out and see how the car drives without those in it. I'm going to start by just doing it on the front to give it that little bit more suspension travel, drive it like that, and then try the rear and see just how maybe this makes a difference. The front suspension limiters definitely helped. I really like that a lot. So let's pop these rear ones out and see what that does. This thing is staggeringly good for $60. If you can find this on sale for $60, it is absolutely 100% worth it. That is crazy to me how well this car drifts for such a cheap price. And of course, like we said, it's adjustable a little bit. And if we throw the extra parts at it, like some hobby grade, some like really much better parts at it, I think it has the potential to do really good. Like, here's a couple things I noticed. When it was drifting, you kept noticing the front wheels, they kept doing this. And honestly, a lot of the times we would get gyro wobble. If you have a high precision gyro, you get a wobble and it's just kind of doing this constantly. That's not what this was doing. It's like the programming that they have in the ESC is kind of a step. It's like, is the angle past where the front tires are, catch it, and then it comes back, and then catch it, and then come back, and then catch it, and then comes back. And it does it, kind of oscillates about that speed while you're turning. If we can put a better gyro in it and it eliminates that, that alone would be a huge improvement. But here's the other thing I started to notice as I looked the car over. We noted that the suspension is adjustable. So the alignment can be adjustable both front and rear. And I'm noticing now that I've driven in it some, look at the wear patterns that I'm getting on these tires. When you drive a drift car on a hard surface, the wear pattern on the tires can tell you a lot. And notice how on this is the right rear of the car, I'm actually wearing almost the whole tire. So I've really used a bunch of it, and I'm hitting a lot of that. And it turns out drifting that direction with that on the outside was the easier way to drive for me. When I just drifted the other direction with this tire on the outside, the car wanted to spin out a lot more, and I didn't know why that was. Well, the tires are giving me a clue here. I'm using most of the tire. I haven't even used but maybe half the tire over here. So I am guessing that the alignment is not quite perfect out of the factory. And if I dial some camber out of this rear tire, I'll get a little bit better traction, and that'll help me. I should probably also check the rear toe, because the rear toe does look like it's towed in pretty hard, which is good for traction, but maybe an acceleration out of the corner. It's not really what I need with this car, though. It's plenty fast for what it is. Maybe if I straighten that up, I will get rid of a little traction. Kind of the opposite on the front end, and I know sometimes with a fisheye lens on the camera, this doesn't really come across well. But in the normal, just straight ahead position, there's almost zero toe out on this car, which makes it a little bit less stable. A lot of the times you'll want a little bit extra toe out in order to make the car more stable between the corners, and if you do that, a lot of the times when you get into drift, you'll be able to get a little bit more angle on this lead tire. So if I'm drifting this way, this will be the lead tire. If I add a little bit of extra toe to it, maybe I can get that to come around just a little bit more and get a little bit more total angle, so the car's less likely to spin out. I think there's a whole day of me sitting around playing with this car and adjusting the setup that comes out of the box in order to make it better. And the big thing I think with this is, for $60, you have a body that's worth, literally this body's worth $60. The headlights, the pop-ups, all that system, clearly really, really nice. I honestly think it's worth every penny, and if I put some maybe higher end electronics in it, it may do really, really well. I think we might have to try that. If you are interested in this LDRC 18th scale rear-wheel drive drift car, there'll be a link down in the video description to it. If you're curious about anything else that I've done RC drift wise, there's a playlist that's going to be popping up right over here to your right, so you can go check it out there. Hope to see you in one of those videos. Thank you, and goodbye.